In April 2024, 6 Indigenous women who call themselves the Ra Ra Ras team from the mountains of Chihuahua, Mexico, made history by finishing the mysterious Speed Project Relay Ultramarathon, covering roughly 340 miles from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. Their names are Veronica, Ulisa, Isadora, Lucia, Rosa, and Argelia, and they ran the race, but not in conventional running clothes, shoes, or technology. Their community is called the Tarahumara by much of the world, but they call themselves Raramuri, and so will we, traditionally running long distances in their canyon homelands, and they put their traditions and skills to the test in this grueling competition. In this episode, we'll tell you about these amazing athletes, this mysterious and secretive race, the Raramuri people, the challenges they face, some new hope for their communities, and how you can help them reach their dreams. Let's talk about the Ra Ra Ras and the intriguing Raramuri people on this episode of the Mysteries of Latin America podcast. My name is Andrew Colon, and what we do here is tell stories about the myths, legends, mysteries, and histories of Latin America so we know our own stories, and so people all over the world can know about some of what makes the cultures of North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean what they are today. If it's your first time with us, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, I really appreciate you coming back. And I invite all of you to share, subscribe, and follow the podcast however you're catching it, and to let your like-minded friends and families know about it. Little by little, we're building a community, and I'm honored to be a part of it, and I'd love for you to join us. Now let's get to today's story, which is history in the making of the light feet of the Raramuri. From March 29th to April 1st, 2024, the Speed Project, an ultramarathon stretching 540 kilometers, 340 miles, from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, saw a historic first. 6 women from the Indigenous Raramuri community in Chihuahua completed the race. The team who billed themselves the Ra Ra Ras ran the race as a 6-person relay in just over 2 days. This was the first time Raramuri women participated in and finished the race. The Speed Project is the brainchild of Nils Arendt and Blue Benadum. Nils is originally from Germany, and he promoted raves in Hamburg way back in the day. And Blue is a running coach and surfer who formed a group of friends who were in a sort of running tribe with Nils years ago. Well, they came up with a race where the main rule of the race was no rules, and they called it the Speed Project. Think of the Speed Project kind of like the Fight Club, but for runners. And just like the Fight Club, there is one rule. But instead of the rule being, you do not talk about the Fight Club, their one rule is no stopping. And there are a couple of other guidelines we'll give you in a moment. In this race, runners face the challenge of being as creative and extreme as they can, as there's no real route, no spectators, and no support team provided by the race organizers. What there is a starting point at 4 a.m. at the Santa Monica Pier in Los Angeles and an ending point under the famous Las Vegas sign. Since there's no official route, runners are encouraged to be creative and shave off time and distance here and there to get to their destination however they can. But there are guidelines that you can't use freeways, and someone has to be running at all times. The rest is up to the 6 team members and whoever supports them before and during the race to somehow cross the Mojave Desert, deal with about 15,000 feet of elevation during the race, and of course, Death Valley. The race is a mystery to most people, even to many of those who run in it. Since it isn't officially sanctioned by any running organization or governing body, it doesn't really have a website. There are no official regulations, and even their Facebook page hasn't been touched in over a year. They are clearly not fishing for publicity. There is an Instagram page, though, if you're curious. This has only made its reputation as one of the hardest and most secretive relay races in the world even more solid, and it's invitation only. And if you were wondering, there's also a race for individual runners who want to do the whole 340-mile distance alone. No gracias. But let's get back to our Ra Ra Ras. The Raramuri runners, Veronica Palma, 34, Ulisa Fuentes, 25, Isadora Rodriguez, 46, Lucia Nava, 27, Rosa Para, 29, and Argelia Orpinel, 40, are all from the Barrancas del Cobre, also known as the Copper Canyon region in northwestern Mexico, and more specifically in the state of Chihuahua, renowned for producing skilled long-distance runners. Each team member ran about 90 kilometers, or 56 miles, taking turns while the others followed in a support van. As one runner ran, the others rested and hydrated, showing how they could be part of a team and supported each other and cheered each other on. That's a little over 2 marathons each 2 days and change for each participant. They completed the race in 52 hours, and between them finished almost 13 total marathons. And on top of that, one of the runners, Lucia Nava, ran the marathon relay just 3 months after giving birth. What set these women apart wasn't just their participation of the race, but also their adherence to their traditions and running practices. The women, all mothers, wore their traditional wide skirts made of printed fabric in striking colors, and instead of modern running shoes, they ran in huaraches, traditional leather sandals with soles made from recycled tires. Their running style reflected centuries-old Raramuri traditions, characterized by endurance, agility, and a deep connection to the land and their spirituality. Despite facing language barriers, logistics challenges just to get there, and the grueling physical demands of the race, the Raramuri women persevered. Their efforts paid off as the team of 6 Raramuri women secured 3rd place overall in the Speed Project Ultramarathon, a remarkable achievement considering they were competing against seasoned athletes from all over the world. Despite their success, their team has faced significant financial challenges, and the $6,000 they got for participating, there was little money in this for participants, fell far short of their expenses, which included renting a support camper, food, drinks, visas, transportation, and lodging for them and their support team. An online fundraising campaign raised a little less than half of their goal, which was $30,000, but I'll tell you how you can help them and different causes in the Raramuri community shortly. As I mentioned before, the Raramuri are famous for their endurance running and have produced many long-distance runners for generations. Their story has been featured in the film 37 Kilometers, along with the Netflix documentary Lorena, Light-Footed Woman, the story of Lorena Ramirez, a long-distance runner also from the Raramuri community. Their participation in the Speed Project highlights their incredible stamina and staying true to their cultural heritage. After studying their cardiovascular function starting 50 years ago, cardiologist Dale Groom called the Raramuri modern Spartans, as their mountain environment has helped give them remarkable stamina. But it's much more than that. Although the Raramuri don't train to run in a traditional Western sense, they, like many Native American communities, consider running and other endurance-based activities to be important social and spiritual pursuits. In traditional communities, they'll hold race events for members of a town, or even between towns. And oftentimes races include a separate men's and women's race. In the men's race, men can often run kicking a small wooden ball along the way, from anywhere from up to 15 miles up to 93 miles. In the women's race, while it can be a little shorter, the challenge for them is that they use hooked sticks to flick a hoop made from plant fibers from one participant to another the whole way. But it isn't a game to them. Running is an important part of their spirituality, which emphasizes using rituals to maintain a sort of balance between opposing forces, and it can be a strong form of prayer. Extreme forms of endurance, including long-distance running, have been shown to induce an altered state of consciousness in some runners that includes a heightened state of awareness and out-of-body experiences. And people who have studied the Raramuri feel that these long foot races sometimes induce a similar state in their runners. But it's not just running that gives the Raramuri their extreme physical condition. They also do very hard manual work on their farms and do very hard physical labor in their daily lives. Since much of the Sierras where they live don't have very good roads, people spend much of their time on foot, herding goats, sheep, and cows, and up and down rocky mountainsides, and also walk long distances on steep mountain trails wherever they need to go. And also recent measurements on a sample of men showed that they averaged anywhere between 18,000 and 23,000 steps a day up and down mountain trails. And then there's hunting, where people will go out on a hunt and follow their prey by foot for hours until their prey gets tired of running or can sometimes die of heat exhaustion. And then there's dancing, which is equally important to the Raramuri culture during community events. It's safe to say that all of these events, including running, have a strong social and community element to them. The communities of the Raramuri are a strong part of each individual's identity, and they show it when they run. As I've said before, running is spiritually meaningful for the community. It's a form of prayer, a symbol of the journey of life. These attitudes and beliefs help motivate runners to dig deep and find the strength to keep going for long distances that many people from other cultures find impossible to imagine. But let's not think that the Raramuri are some kind of physical running machines with no problems when they run. They also have to deal with injuries, cramps, nausea, and the same problems most Orthodox runners do. And just like more modern Western trained runners, their abilities come from incredible motivation, hard work, talent, and determination. Now we know the challenges the 6 women had to go through to get to and what they had to deal with during the race. But we also need to know about the challenges before they got there, because the challenges that the Raramuri culture as a whole face just to survive are important. Many Raramuri live in conditions of extreme poverty, without the basics of food, clean water, education, and healthcare. Jobs in their communities are scarce, leading to a reliance on subsistence farming, which is made very hard due to poor soil and climate conditions there. Deforestation and land degradation from illegal logging and mining threatens the environment that the communities depend on for their traditional way of life. Modernization and external influences are leading to a gradual erosion of the Raramuri culture, traditions, and language, and many in the younger generations have been leaving the communities in search of better economic opportunities, which is affecting their cultural continuity. The Raramuri also face social discrimination and marginalization within broader Mexican society, and indigenous rights are often overlooked, and their voices are underrepresented in political and social spheres. If that wasn't enough, drug trafficking and related violence in the region also poses significant risks to their safety and stability, and the encroachment of criminal organizations into some of their territories has led to forced displacements and loss of their land. Now, a bit of good news in all this bad news is that recently a significant legal victory was achieved for the Raramuri people in one of their communities, where a federal court ruling recognized their ancestral land rights, annulling all existing forestry permits in their region. This ruling mandates that the Environmental Ministry of Mexico must conduct a consultation with the indigenous community before any new permits can be issued, taking into account the social, spiritual, cultural, and environmental impacts of that permit. This court decision is a landmark in indigenous rights in Mexico, reflecting a broader struggle for recognition and protection of indigenous territories in the middle of ongoing threats from deforestation, resource extraction, and infrastructure projects. Let's hope this support can extend to other Raramuri communities and other indigenous communities in Mexico. But you can also make a difference yourself and support Raramuri communities and the Ra Ra Ras racing team directly by clicking on the links we'll post in all of our social media posts related to this story and donating directly to them. One link is for the online donation platform Donadora for different causes in the Raramuri communities, and the other is for Money Pool, which collects money to support the Ra Ra Ras racing team directly. The story of the 6 Raramuri women who participated in the speed project ultramarathon is one of remarkable resilience, determination, and cultural pride. Hailing from their indigenous community in the rugged terrain of Chihuahua, Mexico, these women defied expectations and showcased their incredible running abilities on a global stage. This story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of celebrating diversity, embracing cultural traditions, and how sports can be a way to break down barriers between people, countries, and cultures in the pursuit of a common goal. So why did I include their story and the story of their people on the podcast? Because the purpose of the podcast is for us and for the rest of the world to know our myths, legends, mystery, and history, in the different parts of Latin America. And I was proud to tell this story, which is making history as we tell it. I thank you for listening to this episode of the Mysteries of Latin America podcast, where I tell stories of North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean for all the world to know. I also thank you in advance for sharing, following, and subscribing to the podcast. And if you have any ideas for a future episode, please contact me through Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or however you're listening to us. Or drop us an email at andy@andycancun.com. That's andy@andycancun.com. Friends, my name is Andrew Colon, and from Cancun, I say thank you, gracias, and adios.